once or twice a week. Potential volunteers must pass the background check, have an Arizona driver's license, and maintain a clean driving record. For more information, contact Surprise Senior Center at 623-222-1500. Spring Training 2010 in Surprise features a 29-game schedule as the Texas Rangers and Kansas City Royals host multiple visits by the Diamondbacks, Cubs, Dodgers, and more. Opening day at Surprise Stadium kicks off Thursday, March 4th with the annual charity game benefiting the Surprise Sundancers and their efforts in supporting youth programs here in the West Valley. For ticket information and to see a complete schedule, visit SurpriseSpringTraining.com. Have you checked out SurpriseAZ.com lately? It's the one-stop shop for you to connect and interact with City Hall. Sign up for Notify Me and get city news sent directly to your inbox. Join the hundreds already following Surprise on Twitter. Got a problem that needs fixing? Try 222-CARE. Real-time Surprise traffic alerts go straight to your phone or email by signing up at SurpriseAZ.com/traffic alerts. Or state your case and see what others think on our new survey site. And there's more to come in the future. Check it out at SurpriseAZ.com. Get financially fit in the new year by taking a free financial fitness class in Surprise. A class on financing your home will be offered on February 10th. Great information for the first-time home buyer or someone who has purchased a home before. The college planning course is March 10th. Find new ways to address the high cost of college and more. Class runs from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in the City Hall Conference Room, N1 150. That's on the first floor next to the city store. To register, call 623-222-3242. Want to learn more about how city government operates and become an effective leader in the community? Make plans to attend the next Surprise City Academy. This is your chance to learn how your government works. Participants will learn firsthand about city funding, structure, operations, and more. The classes begin February 16th, 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and will run for a period of 10 weeks. Most classes will be held in the auditorium of the Surprise Public Safety Building. For an application, call 623-222-3242. Here in the desert Southwest, rain can at times lead to flooding problems in low-lying areas. That's why the Surprise Public Works Department offers free sand and sandbags to residents at the following locations. You're asked to bring your own shovel and fill the bags for yourself. If you do require special accommodations, please call Public Works at 623-222-6000.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, this is worth millions. As this
Order. May we have roll call, please?
Mayor Truitt.
Here.
Vice Mayor Alton.
Here.
Councilmember Wolcott.
Here.
Councilmember Villanueva. Here. Councilmember Hall. Here. Councilmember Woodard. Here. Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think our presenter seems to be otherwise occupied.
I guess I can go ahead and read the item. Is
Go
that
ahead and
okay?
read it.
Presentation and discussion on the draft City of Surprise Tourism Board Strategic Plan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, Mr. Oliver. This has been a year process that Councilman Hall has been attending with us over the past 12 months. I expected some of the advisory board members to be here, and I think Jeannie Blackman just called. She said she's running a little late, and Robert is as well. But I'll go through this, and then after we get done, Ken's going to help me as well get through this, and then we're going to hopefully bring Jeannie up, and she'll kind of give you her perspective from the resident perspective. Now, I want to make this really clear. This is just a draft. What we intend to do is take your comments here this afternoon, go back and have another meeting with the advisory board, and then we will revise the draft and bring it to you to formally adopt, and we will move on then with an action plan that puts real dollars to real timelines. All the timelines here this afternoon are all conceptual and estimated, and everything could change. Just depend on the economy and the market and of course, your direction. Now, I want you to know that we broke down the key results areas into 4 components, 4 primary objectives to be developed in this plan. It was entertainment was the core. Partnerships, resorts, and white tanks were the other objectives that became the 4 priorities for us to build off of. Now, objective 1, which was very popular, and what we did is we actually went around the room and we voted with all of the membership, and they identified the tennis complex today and the recreation campus events as today's events. And their number 1 objective was to increase the number of events, and that timeline obviously is ongoing. We're doing that every day, so that's nothing new. But they wanted to confirm and validate they believe that was important. They also were very excited and very interested in developing a multi-purpose tennis facility expansion, center court with permanent seating for 1 to 3 years. The multi-purpose facet of that would be for us to hold what I call level B, level C entertainment opportunities, concerts, art venues, wine tasting parties, all the type of things that can hold probably 2,000 to 3,000 people and attract a regional audience. And they wanted to, for us to continue the expansion of the recreation campus with facilities that are magnets for entertainment and tourism. Some of the ideas were a soccer complex, an amphitheater, 3 to 5K marathon, triathlon courses, something that would be not as expensive but easily to do. The timeline for B and C were approximately 1 to 3 years. They also wanted us on Objective 1, 2 under entertainment, develop an annual festival framework. And actually it was one of the members who came up with Surprise 365. You know, there's a lot of events going on in the city of Surprise where it's Sun Village, Sun City Grand. Sun Village this year, or Sun City Grand this year had an Oktoberfest, and I don't think the community knew about it. I think Sun City Grand knew about it, but I know they had a great attendance. But we're going to work with Ken and others and really have a comprehensive list of all events in Surprise, and the catchy name will be Surprise 365. We also want to develop an RFP process to recruit partners to hold tourism events in Surprise with defined criteria. That criteria under the tourism element would be that obviously we'd want to see and have to really be able to measure an economic impact. Local events wouldn't qualify here; they'd have a different criteria. But for instance, if we were going to lease out the stadium and then waive the fee and then waive other out-of-pocket costs because we believe the economic impact would be over $1 million or $500,000, you know, this would be probably a criteria that we would go with. And this was also suggested to just not always have the city involved in the event planning and event organization, bring outside parties in to do this. And then what we also had heard is that we needed to simplify the application process for third parties to run a special event at the Surprise Rec campus. I'll make it really clear. This isn't the TUP process that Jeff and his folks do already. We think they've really refined it and defined it. This is more that if when someone comes to us and wants to run an event, that there's really a 1 or 2 page gap, and because normally outside parties aren't required for the TUP process, and we want to make it a lot easier for the residents and for regional members and promoters and third parties to come in and potentially host events. Objective 3, 1.3, was the development of a regional entertainment corridor. And this seemed to be what we spent the most time on. And this also has a lot of the question marks. We wanted to be able to establish a value proposition, what and why, and we get into that today. We wanted to identify the site and location, a timeline 1 to 2 years. Obviously behind that, a feasibility study to determine the market, identify partners, and then identify project costs and incentives. And really work hard with the planning department, Jeff and Mr. Beckley and all those folks in project management to come up with a plan and to bring it back to you. The big critical part of this would be the funding process, and that would where the project cost would be coming in back to you. We also wanted to identify a year-round attraction to Surprise. And again, the same process, establish the value proposition, what and why, identify the site, a feasibility study to determine the market, identify the partners, and identify project costs and incentives. Objective 1.5, locate a conference center, a convention center in Surprise. The reality is the first phase would be probably a conference center that today was going to fit the market. And we wanted to establish that value proposition, what and why, a timeline of about a year to establish that, identify a site location, 1 to 2 years, a feasibility study to determine market, identify the partners, identify project costs and incentives. Now, take in mind that because we have timelines of 1 to 2 years, it doesn't necessarily mean that is when we start working on it. We could start working on it tomorrow and it could come to reality in 6 months. But obviously, the economic times and funding will be challenges. And then we went to the second objective, and it was primary objective to be identified in the plan was partnership. And we believe that without partnership, we would be really challenged. So the advisory board looked at this and said, create partnerships that offer visitors a wide range of non-baseball activities. Let's just not be known for baseball. Partnership with the Surprise Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Hotel Association, which we are doing today, the West Valley Arts Movement, which is currently hosting art walks at Cocopelli's, county parks in Lake Pleasant. We haven't taken advantage of that. Paralympics, which is an active disabled population program. The Department of Commerce, the Office of Tourism, West Valley Arts, Maricopa County Sports Commission. We're currently a member of that organization. Really build our association with the United States Tennis Association, United States Track Association. Next week we have a world-class walking competition that's bringing approximately about 50 racers from all over the country. Hope to build that up. Cliff Elkins has been helping us with that. Track and field, car art shows and concerts, and the International Chambers of Commerce, maybe sister city type of activities for festivals. We also wanted to establish a private-public self-sustaining partnership to enhance area tourism. We don't always want to have to come out of our pocket. There has been some talk of casino and Indian tribes. If Charles Clark was here today, he could tell you how that would work. Okay, I'm not sure that we have a reservation as I speak today. Many of you on the council and many on the board really said that we really need to do more with Speed World. We don't do enough with Speed World. It's there. It's not something we have to build. It's not something we have to create, and they want us to partner. And they really believe that that's an opportunity that's there today. Looking to partner with airline and travel agencies, obviously, to bring tourists here to Surprise. Third-party promoters. This was something that Councilman Hall spoke to us with passion, and that, for us to really start to look at third-party promoters that can come in and put a concert on, put an art festival on, do something that becomes a magnitude and becomes a signature event for Surprise, not necessarily out of the Surprise's general fund budget. Work with West Valley Cities, Luke Air Force Base, and then try to set up a transportation limousine program, basically that when we do have big events that we have the transportation to move people around if that's a requirement of the event. And that is, in most cases, when the tennis event comes, we have to provide transportation. When spring training comes around, we have to provide transportation. When the college baseball tournament comes, transportation is required. So it's ongoing, but really don't have what I would call a committed relationship. And then Objective 2.3, the Visitor Center. It's multifaceted and interactive. This is currently ongoing, but wanted to build on that. Jeannie Blackman and her people were wanting this to be a part of this partnership and to be recognized. We also had Objective 2.4, to increase repeat visitors to Surprise by improving customer service, the creation of a hospitality training partnership. Looking to work with Community to build a hospitality program, a training facility, and look to create a hospitality academy for volunteers. Our Sundancers could attend this hospitality academy. Ongoing training program on quality, hospitality service, just making sure that we put our right foot forward. And finally, resorts. And this is the one that probably is probably the most complicated, and the reality of it is that it will take a lot of planning. It's not going to be here today or tomorrow or in 2 or 3 years, but it was something that was looked upon as a short-term, long-term type of goal, and they wanted us to position Surprise as a viable ground for resort hotel development. a study possibly funded through a hotel bed tax that we're going to discuss tonight and bring before you, timeline 3 to 5 years. And then, of course, attract a major world-class luxury destination resort to be located on the 500 acres of the areas of the foothills and the White Tank Mountains as identified in Surprise Village 3's planning area. Obviously, working with state lands, Maricopa County, timeline today is ongoing as the planning department has been working on this concept through the Surprise Village 3 planning area, identify partners in 5 to 10 years and develop a feasibility study and a strategic plan to attract the development. The objective, number 3.3, to identify a year-round entertainment attraction to co-locate to the resort, study possibly through funding of a bed tax, but to bring a destination attraction that would complement the resort and make it a destination for visitors in Surprise, a timeline of 5 to 10 years. And finally, the White Tanks. We continue to hear about the White Tanks. I've been here 11 years, and I think that I do know that the county is open to talking to us about joint opportunities and partnerships to further the enhancement of the park, to make it available not only to our residents but to bring people from different regions to the park. So the White Tanks were very important in this plan. Our objective was to work in partnership with the State of Arizona and Maricopa County to preserve open space acreage surrounding the White Tank Regional Park that's within the Surprise planning area and create destinational recreation and tourism opportunities. And then work in partnership with Maricopa County, state lands, and BLM to create and expand an interpretive center and a living museum at the White Tanks. And then objective 4.3 to work in partnership with Maricopa County to establish the White Tanks Park as a unique Desert Echo Park destination. And then objective 4.4, develop a multi-purpose entertainment amphitheater at the White Tanks so that we could regionalize this and maybe hope on attracting entertainment and concerts and those type of activities. Now, I'm going to bring Ken up here because we just had presented to you, or Ken had, the Moses Angell study, and we want to show you how this all ties in together. It was very important that we just didn't do a marketing study, and then we have a strategic tourism study, but they don't fit. And we want to show how this fits so that we can show you that we utilized our time in a very effective way.
Acknowledge Kendra's here.
Okay. And Kendra's here from the commission, and we're going to have Kendra speak after we get done, but we'll let Ken go through. Okay.
Thank you, Mark, Mayor, Council, Mr. Oliver. Good afternoon. We made sure that our department was represented at each of the tourism committee meetings. I attended each of them. I listened very carefully to what was being said and participated in some of the discussions. One of the questions that we heard from the council members involved and also from our management staff was, can we be confident that anything that develops along the lines of tourism will integrate smoothly with our marketing plan? The answer is yes, it certainly can, and I'd like to spend just a few minutes reviewing that with you. Just a quick review. There are areas where it integrates very seamlessly with our tourism plan. The theme our marketing plan, our theme is opportunity and connectedness, and we're building those on platforms of quality of life, recreation, business, and education. And the asterisks you see indicate areas where the plan really does integrate well. Tourism can be supported. The tourism plan can be supported consistent with marketing by customized collateral based on the themes and the platforms, and I'll talk about what that means for just a few minutes. A couple of tiers where that integrates very easily are marketing to business interests to make tourism happen. As you'll recall, one of the constituent audiences of our marketing plan is non-resident businesses, businesses that may wish to locate in Surprise. We can also market to our residents and non-residents to attend and participate in either tourism events or tourism locations. And again, as you'll recall, residents and non-residents are two of the constituents groups that our marketing plan is aimed at. What we've done, and I think that's been passed out to you. Sherry, did that get distributed? This is an example, kind of a dummy ad that shows how we can take valid marketing themes and incorporate them into collateral or advertising to a specified strategic marketing constituent group. In this case, it's a dummy ad aimed at the resort development community, say an industry publication or a trade publication, which is frequented or read by industry developers, spa and resort developers. It incorporates the quality of life and recreation areas of our marketing plan, and it works very nicely into the tourism component aimed at attracting a resort to the White Tanks area. We can market confidently because we can honestly say, based on the research that we've done, that the people of Surprise truly love recreation, truly love the natural desert environment, so we can feel comfortable developing collateral and advertising like this that says you've got 100,000 built-in customers in Surprise because our research tells us that you do. And at the same time, of course, market the White Tanks as a strategic advantage to Surprise. In this particular case, we've kind of shaped the vision by outlining what a possible resort might look like if it were at the foot of the White Tanks, using photographs that demonstrate that, that aspect of the community life, young families that are active, people out there hiking, people who enjoy relaxation. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Coronado, and of course all of us will be available to answer any questions or absorb any of your comments.
No golfers. The obvious question is, great ideas. We like them. But how do we get there? But the reality of it is that since I've been here, in the last 5 years, we want to create tourism opportunities. We don't have a plan. Everybody has an idea. We don't have a plan. And plans cost money. Plans take strategic planning. Plans take advocacy. Plans take a public participation so that we can get buy-in from our residents and so they can support some of these objectives. The transient tax increase on tonight's agenda is a good first piece of this plan. It could help us in the study process, in the feasibility process. It could help us also create events today that would then start to draw and to create that magnet, if you will, and to show communities and to show promoters and to show others that it is real, and Surprise is real, and Surprise is aggressive. Obviously, the private and public partnerships, easy to say, hard to find. But that's a challenge that staff will be put to test to with your help and hopefully your relationships. A co-application of grants. We believe the grant operation will really work well at the White Tanks. We never really effectively, in my opinion, been aggressive with the grants. And we've never, in my opinion, always been too busy to work with the county. And I really believe that we need to start stepping up and really effectively work with the county and make them a real partner that we hold hands with. The corporate sponsorships are always important, as we know. And then, of course, the advisory board. They would be your public endorsement with public hearings, hopefully supporting any bonding issues that come before us. I'm not putting a timeline on the next bond election. That's not my job. That's yours. But we also know that if we need this kind of money to sometimes provide some of the public infrastructure required, that there has to be a resource for funds. So this is the first step. There's probably 200 steps ahead of us, but we have to take the first step before we can get to the next step. And so we bring this to you. I'd like to bring Kendra up here, Ambergy. Kendra was part of the process for us, and I'd just like to hear from have you hear from her. This isn't Mark's plan. Okay, this is a plan that came with a lot of thought and a lot of people giving input. So, Kendra?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I just want to say the committee has been working very diligently for over a year now with city staff and other representation to work on the strategic plan, and we thank you for looking at it, and we think that it has a lot of practicality to it and that it will help the city a lot. Thank you. I can assure you it's not Mark's plan.
I can assure you. Okay, we get it.
Jeannie Blackman just showed up. Why don't we get her to come up? She was actually the co-chair of this committee, and I think it would be prudent for her to say a few words about the plan and the process and everything else.
Thank you. Good evening. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. From one meeting to the next. Anyway, we felt it was a really good coming together of many factions within the community, which was what you were hoping for in the outcome of the Tourism Council. And we just really felt, and we've talked about this with many of you before, about really having that hook for people to really want to stay and be a part of the good things that are happening in Surprise. So sorry I'm a little winded, but I was running to get here as well. Anyway, you know, we put a lot of thought into it as well. We discussed a lot of options, you know, whether to go bigger, smaller, convention center, conference center, different things like that, and what would really be appeal, and then some collaborations with other, partners within the community and the surrounding area. So we thought we came up with some good ideas. We also decided to go for the gusto in terms of asking for the, incentive that'll be discussed later, but we just really feel that in order to start this, it might be a little bit bold, especially with the current economic times, but a long-term vision we feel is better than being short-sighted. We also discussed this with Skip and with Richard as well, and feel we came to a really good consensus about where we're headed. Any questions or?
Council, questions for any of the speakers?
Yeah.
Mr. Hall?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Could you point out, Mark, who was on the tourism board? Remind everybody who was there, present, that was part of this, besides Jeannie and Kendra?
I'll let Melissa come up and she sets out the materials.
Okay.
Mayor Truitt, members of the council. We had representation from the Hotel Association, Robert Pasley with the Holiday Inn, restaurants within Surprise, Outback, and the Vogue was represented. We had representation from the arts with Kendra Ambergy when the West Valley Art Museum was open. Jeannie Blackman with APS represented on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. And then we also had ex officio members with Economic Development, Communications, and then with Mark Coronado as the liaison. We also had representation with Lise Rogers, who spoke on behalf of the White Tank Mountains.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I did. That's
Okay. Any other questions or comments or thoughts you'd like to provide the presenters?
I don't have anything.
yeah, Mark. When we talk about partnerships, what exactly is involved there?
Well, that could be a $100 million question. And I need to be probably sensitive to the fact that incentives is probably not a very popular word with the city attorney standing there and a city manager next to my right. That being said, it could be anywhere from a partnership that says that we have a promoter that's a national art promoter that comes to the city and says, hey, I want to put a week-long art show of fine art, and we partner with them, and you provide the out-of-pocket costs, the out-of-pocket type of challenges that we have with staffing and the facility, and we partner and we waive fees, or we negotiate a lower fee than normally the fee schedule. That could be one partnership, and that's probably an easier partnership. The other partnership would be, let's say that, and let's just dream a little bit. I'm sure that Disneyland's not coming to Surprise, but if Disneyland came to Surprise, and that will keep me safe from anyone that we're talking to today, and Disneyland might say that we need land. Disneyland might say land, and that maybe would be our partnership. Or Disneyland might say they need the public infrastructure. So they're partnerships of all levels, of all dollar values, Mike, and it really is a $1 million, billion-dollar word, and it's something that we would have to include the finance department in, the city attorney in, and then, of course, working with Jeff and Bob Beckley as well. Be a team effort to identify those.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Wolcott.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to compliment you, Mark, and Councilman Hall, and all of the folks that have presented to us this evening, all the staff members, all the members of the Tourism Advisory Board. It's exciting to me to see the result of a collaborative effort between elected officials and visionary members of the community and our staff. I mean, it's really an exciting thing to see, and I compliment you on the work that you've done and the time that you've devoted to it, because I think it really is, it sends a very strong message, and I appreciate the work that you've done. And I'd love to get into a dream session about it as well. But tonight, I just have a couple of questions. One is, and we're going to talk about the transit tax later this evening. But do we have any concept of? I mean, we keep talking about feasibility study, and each one of these slides you can see a feasibility study here. And are we talking about a big feasibility study, or are we talking about focused, smaller, individual feasibility studies?
I think it'd be project by project at this time. We have to prioritize where we want to go. I mean, for instance, let's just use a couple of examples. Maybe build an amphitheater at the county, with the county and at the White Tanks, and we go talk, we speak with the county, and they say we think it's a great idea, and we find a partner, and that could become a priority overnight just because funding's available, grants are available. It also means that when I talk with Jeff and with Bob Beckley and all our staff internally, and in our economic development department, which right now I have the pleasure of being the leader for an interim basis. I want to, those are opportunities there they're currently working on, and those partnerships become real in a week or two. So I think it's an open-ended question that really it's case by case, and that's why I made it clear early on that you see these conceptual timelines, but these timelines really aren't real. They're something for us to set goals, because I don't think you should put a plan out there and not have a defined timeline to get something done. And if you're not going to get it done, then come and tell you, guess what? We're moving the resort back 10 more years because we just don't have the resources, we don't have the partnership, we don't have the incentives.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I may, what I'm understanding you to say is that we need to have a vision and a plan, and this is a strategic plan, but it also needs to be kind of nimble so that it can respond to opportunities as they come up, because they may come up in a different order than we envisioned them in the first place.
That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. And it's difficult for us to talk about projects or concepts that are in the works, but today we received a call with respect to the tennis facility, and it has a tremendous opportunity. And though it was one of the number one priorities, it could become a fast-paced priority very quickly. So it's a plan that's evolving, never will stop. Mark Coronado will leave the city, he'll pass it on, and we'll pass it on to someone else, and it could just continue to evolve, and resort number 1 could turn into resort number 2, and it could continue to grow. So I think it has a lot of potential. It's the first time in my stay here in Surprise that I actually have a menu now to look at and say, okay, what can we do? And then to ask the council, what do you want to do? What do you want to prioritize? What's your vision? Give us your vision, give us the challenge, and let staff bring it to reality. Or tell you we can't bring it to reality, but can isn't in our vocabulary.
We appreciate that, too.
Okay.
Just a side note here. This past week I had the opportunity to speak to Speed World, and I think I've mentioned it to a few people. They're interested in doing some sort of promotion, and so I suggested maybe some kind of Save Our Desert type weekend where instead of people riding their ATVs or their motorcycles or their quads out in the normal desert areas, they take them over to Speed World and ride on their tracks and their berms and moguls and all of that. And we pitch it as an opportunity to promote good stewardship with our environment, and we help a local venue get more exposure. And that might be a partnership that we can look into, and perhaps you might be interested in that.
We are interested, Mayor, and I think that's a partnership that, for the most part, goes right to the top, because it's already in place. And from what I understand, talking to the officials there over the last year or so, I know they've been a little frustrated with the city, probably my departments, probably more than anyone else, because I was trying to find out, that there are a lot of people out there that want our help. I mean, but I like the opportunity to formalize this with the council. If you choose to make Speed World a priority, then it's not Mark's decision, it's the council's decision. And so when the next person comes around, I want to bring it to you and say they want the same type of recognition, and then we make sure you're always in the loop, because at the end of the day, it's the decisions that we make to present to you that impact the residents.
Okay, and of course we don't take any action tonight, but we can gather a little consensus here if it exists with regards to Speed World.
Can I make a comment, Mayor? Thank you, Mayor. This is just me. I think Speed World is a jewel in the desert, and it's about 9 miles from us, is all. And they have so many kinds of applications out there, from drag racing to motocross to what they call mud racing. You ever seen that, Mark? You've seen it? Okay. I've never seen it. But anyway, they do all kinds of things out there. And so I just think it's right in our backyard, and I think we can leverage that with and Dan and his group out there are very aggressive marketing wise, and they really want to work with us. So I think that's If you haven't been out there, you guys, you've been out there. You've been out there? Have you been out there, Mike?
No.
Oh, okay, check it out. I mean, it's really, you'll be impressed. And Dan, is it Dan Matthews? Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, he'll give you a tour and show you the whole facility.
Okay, I think generally you've got a sense here. Next in line is Councilman Villanueva.
Yes, thank you. Mark, I really like that idea about the White Tank Mountain and resort. But I'm just wondering, have you heard anything about other cities looking at the white tanks? Or do we have to that's part of our planning?
I'd probably defer to Jeff, who's here. Jeff, if you want to update the council on that planning area. And just to go on to speed roll, Jeff's coming down here. And that's why we put these potential funding mechanisms. Now they're part of a plan. We can do a corporate sponsorship. It's not necessarily all about dollars, but by trade. They promote spring training, for instance, at an event. We promote their event at a spring training event. It's that kind of partnership and corporate partnership that then starts to merge and really bring success.
Energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Mayor Turp, members of the City Council, Jeff Mahala, Community Development Director. Good evening. We are actually making good progress on working with the landowners out in the area near the White Tanks and Bada Resort. We've had conversations with state lands. We've had great conversations with the county and also Arizona Game and Fish. And in fact, in March, we're scheduling a work session to brief City Council on the plans for Village 3 in partnership with Arizona Game and Fish. We'll give you a very detailed update on that. But in terms of their support and consideration for a resort, they're very supportive of it because it's an open space concept.
Thank you.
That's good news. Mr. Williams.
Sorry, I was chewing on a mint. Apologize, Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Would
Jeff,
you
I
like to
thought
go
you
to
were
the
going
next
to take
speaker?
another minute. No, I just want to make a comment. Again, it's a good plan, and I thank Councilmember Hall and everybody for putting this together. And I also want to make a comment on Speed World. I mean, there's events through the NHRA that run on the opposite side of this valley at Firebird Raceway that bring hundreds of thousands of people into those communities out there. It's an economic opportunity, and we have the venue for it. Likely needs some expansion, but again, there's something in place right there, and I agree. I mean, it's a resource for this community.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wolcott.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to chime in too. I think I've been out to Speed World and met with the operators, and it is truly an amazing resource out there that has cost us very little, and it's brought us quite a bit. And I think that it's a great opportunity to partner. I for one, don't want to see us get to a place where we're going through a list like on page 5 where we have partnerships may include and start putting numbers of them. I would like to make sure that we remain as nimble as we talked about before, so that when something like the mayor just mentioned comes up and it's now, we know that it's part of the big list, but it's not well, that doesn't quite reach. We're not at number 3 yet. We're not at number 1 yet. And I really think that the idea of collaborating on an idea like this with the environment and the issue that we currently have in the open areas in Surprise with folks who use four-wheelers, to get them out to use that facility is a great partnership. And it kills two birds with one stone and really talks to the need to be environmentally sensitive to our desert. I think it's a great idea. And speaking of the white tanks, I would like, as a council person, to know more. I would imagine that the gentleman to my left probably knows more than anybody here at this table about the history of the white tanks, just because he's been here forever. And but I would like to know more about the history and the history of the peoples that were here. I think it's a really important element, and we're celebrating our history here this year. And I would like to know more. I think it would be very helpful to help develop a scheme around that.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Alton.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe that the Speed World is not in the city. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
That is correct.
Is there some plans in place of how to maybe get them into the city? or is it necessary?
I'm not sure it's necessary today.
If you don't mind, let me initially respond, and then you can follow up if you like. Currently, Speed World is in the county, but they bill every event that they do as coming from Surprise, Arizona. So actually, we get the benefit of the Surprise name being promoted without the cost of having to put in the streets that get us there. So probably, ultimately, I believe that they've expressed that they would like to be brought into the city, but I don't believe that's something that's going to be in the very near future. Mr. Halick.
Right.
That's exactly right. They're a few parcels away from being able to annex into the city. We do have to be very careful if we do decide to annex them regarding utilities. We want to study that very carefully, but they're not quite there yet. However, if there are landowners interested in annexing, and then they're even closer to annexation, then it would make some sense to look at a larger annexation, but again, after we study the infrastructure impact.
Okay.
Yeah, and just an aside, the Speed World area lies squarely within the Aux 1 overflight area.
Right.
So there's an additional benefit to their sustainability, and that is that we're protecting the mission of Loop by not allowing encroachment, at least in that square mile, or partial.
Their ownership is I believe, a lease, and it's with the state lands.
Correct.
And has that been renewed recently, or, my question is supporting an area that may go away in a short period of time. How confident are we to know that this business is going to be in place for a long time?
It's difficult for me I can only speculate, and I will offer it, but keep in mind it's just what I understand. State Lands is very comfortable with that use being out there. They're in a catbird seat if you think about it. They still own the dirt. They're leasing it, long-term lease. They can generate that revenue, but if something else comes along that there's some value added and they could flip it, they would do that. But I think right now they're very pleased with what's happening there, and they still hold the dirt for future development.
So there's no immediate maturity on their lease?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Something maybe to look into.
Sure, be happy.
Okay. But I think it is an awesome partnership, and I think that most of those people that go out there, either they camp there or stay in their RVs, or they come into town in order to hotel or motel. So it is a good, positive relationship.
Mr. Villanueva.
Yeah, just comment on Speed World again. It's on cable TV. I've seen it nationally, where they'll have what they call pink slips.
Yeah, racing.
And you race for. In the old days was the pink slip for the car. Also, I think Richard brought some up that we need to consider. Also, I think the city of Avondale is going through a problem right now because of the noise created, and you get too much development around there. You would have that problem. Yeah.
I know that this presentation wasn't intended to be all about Speed World, but one further point is that they have been willing participants in our Beat the Heat program, where police officers take out their Mustang and race against the teens. And from what I understand, they're very pleased with that partnership. So there's lots of opportunity there. My question would be, what do you see as the next steps? Because it seems like we've got quite a bit of synergy here, that this council is liking the presentation and the work that's been done by this group. So what's the natural progression?
Well, the first step, just listening to everyone here up on the council podium, I'm going to call Speed World tomorrow. That'll be the first step, or the staff will call Speed World. But before I answer that, I'd just like to say, if we'd have brought such a plan to you 5 years ago, it would have been a major challenge to even get to the step one. There's a lot of talent here in the organization. Jeff Mihalik, Bob Beckley, Ken Lynch, Randy Jackson, just a ton of talent that 5 or 6 years ago it probably would have been Mark's department that was carrying the load. So I really think that there's a real positive process in front of us that I think is real, I believe is real. The next process for us, Mayor, is for us to go back to the Tourism Advisory Board and the Recreation Advisory Board, because a big chunk of this recreation, get them to formally again endorse and send it to you in a formal presentation that has more than just a PowerPoint, and bring it back so you formally adopt this so that then it becomes a plan of the advisory board. All the advisory boards are required to submit strategic plans. This is the first one we're bringing to you, and the next step then would be to really go after timelines, working with the team of the departments so we have an impact.
Great. It would be a little premature to go any further from the council's point of view tonight, but we do have a retreat coming up where we're going to be examining some of our priorities, and I would imagine this may be part of that discussion.
I think the majority of those gentlemen that we spoke to will probably be there as well.
Okay, terrific. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else have a comment? Thank you for the presentation. This meeting is adjourned.